The substitute ordinance is now under discussion. The next panel, let's see, where was I? I wanted to say that we've intentionally invited, and obviously I support this, or I wouldn't bring it to the council, but I want to make sure my colleagues have a balanced set of facts and information, and so we have also created a panel of people who I think would be generally very skeptical of this ordinance. So the first panel, Janelle Bynum, who is our state representative for House District 51, that's East Portland. Andrew Hone, who is the head of the Portland Business Alliance, and Steve Felstick from Travel Portland. Excuse me. I hope that is the last time we will hear somebody hiss or express their opposition to somebody in this chamber. You get to express your point of view at those microphones when you are called upon, and everybody has the ability to do that. So let's please be respectful of people per the council rules that we all heard earlier. Welcome, Representative Bynum. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Mayor Wheeler, commissioners, members of the public, good afternoon. My name is State Representative Janelle Bynum. I represent the residents of House District 51 in the Oregon State Legislature of East Portland, and I am a business owner in Southeast Portland. I'm here before you today because I support the mayor's attempt to address the violent protests and the consequences borne by city residents and businesses. While I am not a constitutional scholar versed in the intimate details of the policy, I come here today to discuss principles, expected outcomes, and potential supports from the legislative branch. On principle, I believe we should protect freedom of speech, no matter how popular or unpopular. I also believe we have become too tolerant of hate speech. Its impact on our communities and our children cannot be underestimated. But the issue today, to me, is not hate speech. The issue today is how do we set in place clear guidelines for protest that protect life, liberty, and property. We must also consider how our precious financial resources are used and how we are able to deliver law enforcement protection to areas who desperately need it most, like the citizens of House District 51. Please consider that this current environment is a petri dish for this growing cancer of behavior that is destroying our city, taxing our resources, and putting our residents at risk. We are diverting police support from tax-paying residents and businesses who cannot receive services at the same response rate because officers are deployed downtown. In my district, from October 2017 to 18, the average police response time was 37 minutes. The city average is 26 minutes. Who's not getting justice? My constituents. I have 4 of the top 15 neighborhoods impacted by car theft: Lentz, Powellhurst, Gilbert, Centennial, and Foster Powell. We need support. When you take away our resources, you are causing more pain in the lives of citizens who are as deserving as anyone else. Regarding the ordinance, here are some of my concerns and opportunities. I believe the 1-year sunset is too long. I'd like to see a policy that allows for careful reconsideration at intervals that are not subject to political whims, but also allow for thoughtful debate. And I propose 60 or 90 days. Number 2, if in enacting this ordinance, you need assistance from the legislature with policy that would clear hurdles and address issues, please know that I'm interested in being a constructive ally. Number 3, if there are constitutional issues that need to be addressed and it is fitting for the people to consider them, please place those on the table as well. It is not enough to say that's not constitutional. Slavery was legal, but we addressed it. Women voting was not constitutional, but we addressed it. It may be a heavy lift, but for the sake of our city and our state, bold decisions need to be made and work needs to be done. We just passed a constitutional amendment for affordable housing. The legislature considered it, the people voted on it, it is done. 4th, if there is room for an executive order, ask the governor. Let us employ every legal resource we have to deal with this issue. In closing, I urge you to take a step forward in a process that should be iterative and constructive. I stand with you to work with groups that have concerns, but ultimately this policy must serve all the residents and business owners of Portland. We desperately need to start somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I could for a second.
Commissioner Fish.
Representative Bynum, first of all, congratulations on your reelection. I have to say, as a frequent watcher of cable TV, I saw more ads involving your race than the
I'm
only other
sorry.
race that got the same attention was the governor's race, and congratulations on your election. And just to preview, number one on your list of concerns was the sunset. As soon as we have the two panels complete their testimony, I will offer an amendment to change the sunset date in response to the concern you and others have raised, and thank you for putting it on the record.
Thank you, Representative. I know you have an appointment that you need to go to, so if you need to leave, feel free to go ahead and get up and go. Thank you and congratulations. Thank you. And I heard your offer of support and help, and I appreciate it, and we'll follow up on that for sure. Thank you.
I'm going to stay for the Portland Business Alliance to be here. This is, Andrew's brand new here. I know it's not his first rodeo, but I just want to make sure that the legislature is supportive of you as a city and is supportive of the businesses in our community. So if that's okay.
Of course, Representative. You bet.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mayor Wheeler and commissioners, and to the public, of course, to my fellow panelists. My name is Andrew Hone, and I am the president and CEO of the Portland Business Alliance, which is Greater Portland's Chamber of Commerce. Our organization represents around 1,900 small, medium, and large businesses throughout the Portland metro area. And we work every single day to ensure that our region's residents have access to stable family wage jobs, quality educational opportunities, and a high standard of living. As a leading voice for business in the region, I am here this afternoon to state for the record that we support Mayor Wheeler's protest safety ordinance and efforts to keep our city's civic discourse safe and free from violence. We will support any measure that both simultaneously protects our constitutional right to free speech while preventing behaviors that put our residents at risk. First and foremost, the Alliance unequivocally supports every American's First Amendment rights to free speech and peaceful assembly, and would never condone any perceived infringement on those rights. We are fully confident that Mayor Wheeler is following legal precedent set forth by federal courts and other major cities around the nation. Portland's business community is seriously concerned about the increasing amount of violence unfolding on our streets, in front of our stores and inside our public spaces. Not only does this unnecessary violence threaten the physical safety and emotional well-being of the employees and employers we represent, but it has real economic impacts that are felt by small and large businesses alike. When property is damaged, when physical violence occurs in front of our business, when racist or inflammatory graffiti is painted on our walls or in our parks, our community hurts. More must be done, and with this ordinance, more can be done to prevent such acts before they occur. The Alliance is committed to building bridges and collaborating with local government and fellow community organizations to make our city a better, safer place to live, work, and raise a family. While, of course, disagreements on policy are frequent here in Portland, we can all agree that hatred and violence have no place within our city, and we absolutely condemn the inflammatory actions of those seeking to dismantle productive community dialogue. Indeed, in September, after police and protesters alike had been hospitalized after such incidents, the Alliance spoke out alongside environmentalists, labor unions, and others to make a public statement calling for more civility in how we discuss and debate important issues, and to demonstrate our collective disappointment with recent violent behavior. This consistent threat to our community transcends politics and demands action. Approving this ordinance will allow the mayor and chief outlaw necessary authority to be proactive and mitigate violent protests, and in so doing help all of us avoid personal harm and significant damage to public and private property. We are further encouraged by a provision to review the ordinance after implementation. which provides for a sunsetting should perceived constitutional concerns turn into reality. This form of iterative policymaking with thoughtful flexibility does not limit free speech rights. This advances the doctrine of peaceable assembly. Safety must be our collective priority. We understand this is a sensitive issue from your perspective, and you have the obligation to balance the rights of all citizens, regardless of extremist views. But we believe violence should never be tolerated and common sense must win out. That is why we strongly urge you to continue working to a viable law. I just want to recognize how challenging this conversation is. This is not an easy decision. This is certainly a moment among elected officials that you'll certainly be looking back upon. And I want to acknowledge that and really encourage you to continue the conversation. It's worth having, we all deserve it, and I want to thank you. And we're here to help in any manner, shape, or form.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mayor Wheeler, members of council. My name is Steve Falsick. I'm Chief Sales Officer for Travel Portland, which is the destination marketing and management organization for our fine city. We're here today to lend our support to the mayor's proposed ordinance. Travel Portland's mission is to generate travel demand that drives economic impact for Portland. We take seriously our role as both promoter and steward of this evolving city and its progressive values, which have the power to transform the travelers who visit us. The tourism industry in the Portland region market represents $5.1 billion in direct spending and over $133 million in local taxes. The travel industry supports 35,000 jobs in the Portland area, and in 2017, the region welcomed 8.6 million overnight trips. The reason I share these statistics with you is to put emphasis on the impact of being a desirable tourism destination, what it has on local taxes, jobs, earnings, and quality of life. We have enjoyed significant visitor growth over the past 7 years in particular, due in no small part to Portland being a safe and welcoming destination. 5 of the last 7 years saw double-digit growth in lodging tax collections, which comes out to an increase of more than $16 million per year being added to the lodging tax collections that go to the city's general fund. Travel Portland supports Mayor Wheeler's efforts to prioritize the safety of residents, visitors, and demonstrators, as well as our uniformed officers for the ordinance he's proposing to the broader commission today. Portland is a brand as much as it is a place. Progressive values and our known commitment to civic engagement have long lived alongside the fact that Portland is a safe and welcoming place for visitors. Recurring national and international coverage of demonstrations that have escalated to a level of significant and visual violence is putting the very values, welcoming attitude, and overall perception of Portland as a safe place to visit in jeopardy. Following recent protests that have received national media attention, we have received a heightened number of complaints to both our Visitor Information Center as well as our offices directly. A significant part of our work is around the recruitment and booking of large-scale conventions into the Oregon Convention Center, with delegates staying for multiple nights in our hotels. A single convention can have an estimated economic impact of several $1 million in direct spending in our city. In the last few months alone, we have had to prepare meeting planners with messaging around scheduled protests and respond to future delicate safety concerns based on seeing national media coverage of Portland as a lawless and unsafe city. Because being perceived as an unsafe city is not an easy narrative to reverse, and because the physical safety of our visitors and hospitality employees is of utmost concern, we support the mayor's desire to set time, place, and manner regulations, as has been done successfully in other destinations. Most of us in the room have likely traveled to other destinations, seeking escape, new experience, and exposure to a place's people, culture, and local offerings. Imagine now getting a message from the hotel you are staying at, communicating to you that the building is on indefinite lockdown due to protests in the surrounding area that are unpredictable in route and scope. You, along with staff, cannot leave or return to the property, and a level of fear naturally sets in. This is happening at downtown hotels, and this creates a scenario where several hundred guests take this negative experience from Portland back to share with friends and colleagues. This is one of the numerous ways the positivity that should come from a visit to Portland is being severely compromised. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of Portland visitors, the local business community impacted by visitor spending, and our network of business partners in Portland.
Thank you. Commissioner Daly.
I have a comment, maybe a question, and thank you for coming here today. And I certainly appreciate your testimony and understand some of your concerns, but I want to make it clear